And play that. Let's see. What the heck is that? All right. Welcome, everyone. Let's put on this demi phase here. Let me turn it down just a little bit in case it's a little bit too noisy for everyone. Explaining the emerging conceptual framework of neurosexuality. Explaining the emerging conceptual framework of neurosexuality. You're listening to Technical News Reading, presented by Hakeem Ali Bokus Alexander, and here with me today is
Sarah Oberman.
That's right, Sarah. And we're reading for World Reading Club in association with UniquilibriuM. This edition's reading focus comes to us from neurosciencenews.com and the many jets that have decided to fly overhead as soon as I started making this podcast. It's a special day for a lot of people. Yes. Happy Valentine's Day, Sarah.
Happy Valentine's Day.
And this article is titled Explaining the Emerging Conceptual Framework of Neurosexuality. It was published today, Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2023. A lot of people have mixed feelings about Valentine's Day. I don't celebrate any holidays at all. I hardly even remember that they're here. Some people, it's a lot to them. And I guess that's why Neuroscience News decided today that they were going to share this with us. So let's get started. Here's the summary. Summary. Neurosexuality is a conceptual framework that explores the relationship between sexual behavior and brain function. Researchers say the comprehensive framework could be applied to integrate sexual rehabilitation into treatment for those with neurological and sexual function disorders. The source is the University of Montreal. Dum dum. Yeah, we love jets. All right. What do people say, Sarah, about this? What?
People say the brain is the most powerful sexual organ. Neurosexuality knows it's true.
Do you think the brain is the most powerful sexual organ?
Not mine.
All right. Continuing. Neurosexuality is an emerging conceptual framework of study and practice that looks at the relationship between the brain and sexual functioning. Human sexual responses such as arousal, fantasies, lubrication, erection, and orgasm are all directed by parts of the central nervous system. As the body's hormone control center, the hypothalamus governs desire, lubrication, and erection. The hypothalamus, I didn't know that. I didn't know the hypothalamus was so sexy. All right. The amygdala plays an important role in emotions such as pleasure. The orbitofrontal cortex, a decision-making locus, is involved in initiating sexual activity. The cerebellum controls motor response, and the parietal lobes process sensory information. According to, do you think that's supposed to be, did they misspell it, or is that what the guy's name is spelled? It looks like Jahan, or Jean, because it's Jhon. Anyway, I'm going to read it as Jean. How about that? According to Jean-Alexandre Moreno, a neuropsychologist, researcher, and assistant professor in In Université de Montréal's Department of Psychology, neurosexuality is a comprehensive framework that supports the integration of sexual rehabilitation into treatment for people living with neurological disorders. Many dimensions of sexual response are linked to specific areas of the brain, Morena noted, so someone with a brain lesion may well experience sexual dysfunction. Sexual problems linked to disorders. Neurological disorders such as dementia, epilepsy, stroke, Lou Gehrig's disease, and traumatic brain injury, TBI, are associated with a range of sexual problems, including decreased sexual desire, difficulty fantasizing and reaching orgasm, altered body image, erectile dysfunction, risky sexual behaviors, and depression, which can decrease sex drive. The sexual problems commonly associated with TBI are hyposexuality and decreased libido, explained Moreno. Sometimes the opposite can happen and the patient has an increase in sexual desire, even leading to hypersexuality and compulsive behavior, such as uncontrollable urge to approach strangers for erotic gratification. In either case, family and friends say they no longer recognize the patient, that they've become a different person. Neurosexuality is an approach that calls on health professionals to integrate a person's sexual functioning into their clinical assessment. And we have a little black and white featured image here. It's the drawn silhouettes of two people, presumably one's a man and one's a woman. There's a heart in between them. The characters are drawn in black, and inside the man's head you can see the woman, and inside the woman's head you can see the man, and between them is a little heart. How cute. The caption that is floating between them is a recap of something else that we read earlier, and it reads, "As the body's hormone control center, the hypothalamus governs desire, lubrication, and erection. The image is in the public domain." Sexual health is part of overall health and should be addressed in rehabilitation along with all the other dimensions of health, such as mobility, social participation, cognition, and emotions, said Moreno. These dimensions, which are affected by neurological disorders, also play a role in sexual functioning. My research shows that we do not automatically associate brain lesions with sexual problems, which is where neurosexuality comes in. It deserves more attention. Taking a proactive approach. Moreno believes sexual functioning should be assessed using an approach and a clinical exam that normalize sexuality. He has found that people living with brain lesions often have questions about their sexual health and want health professionals to take a proactive approach. First, health professionals have to be familiar with these potential consequences. Then they need to educate patients with brain damage and their intimate partners, said Moreno. They have to make their patients feel comfortable talking about these issues. They must have a positive, respectful attitude towards sexuality and destigmatize sexual problems. According to Moreno, after asking the right questions and identifying the problems, health professionals can initiate care using a multimodal approach, which could encompass not only pharmacological, motor, and hormonal interventions, but also relational, behavioral, and or communication therapies. The transdisciplinary approach taken by neurosexuality is essential for understanding the complexity of behavior and helping patients have pleasurable and fulfilling sexual and relational experiences, Moreno said. about this neurosexuality research news. Author is Beatrice Saint-Cyr-Leroux. Source, University of Montreal. The image I referred to earlier is in the public domain. You've been listening to Technical News Reading, presented by Hakeem Ali Bokas Alexander, and I'm here with
Hakeem Ali Bokas Alexander. And Sarah Overman.
Yes, Sarah Overman. And
sorry, this one was a little uncomfortable for me to say anything.
Oh, good. Well, that's what we need to come out of our comfort zone a little bit. Presented for World Reading Club in association with UniquilibriuM. This edition's reading focus has come to us from neurosciencenews.com. It's titled Explaining the Emerging Conceptual Framework of Neurosexuality, published today, February 14th, 2023, which just happens to be Valentine's Day, a holiday that I don't usually celebrate. You can read this and other articles like it for yourself by visiting neurosciencenews.com. That's neurosciencenews.com, neurosciencenews.com, exploring the emerging conceptual framework of neurosexuality.